Hi, this is John Barnes, and you're listening to Kop On.
Welcome to Kop On Podcast, you sweet and tangy cranberry. Cranberries are red. England is red. Liverpool are champions. Champions of the hardest league in the world. Champions in the face of cheat clubs, poor refereeing. Champions in the face of great opposition and the huge challenges and everybody trying their best to stop us being champions. But here we are, champions. Jockey Hansen handed the trophy over to Virgil and he hoisted it high above his head. And I'm going to play you some audio from that in a moment. Our friend Joe Flynn was there on the Kop. Hello, Joe. If you're listening to this, I'm going to play the audio as you said we could from your day. It's been a hell of a day. Before I'm going to find that audio clip. I'm delighted to be joined by Nigel and by Shane. Nigel, it's been a hell of a season and it's been a hell of a day. How are you feeling?
Champion. We started the season. We didn't know what to expect. It's been absolutely sensational. The picture we have on front of us is Alan Hansen and Virgil van Dijk holding the championship trophy. Shankly said it years ago. This is our bread and butter, the league title. It's exactly it. Absolutely ecstatic. That's the best way I can put it.
Excellent stuff. And Shane, what about you?
Oh yeah, I'm right there with y'all. I feel on top of all the excitement, I feel exhausted. We've all had like these long days, these outpouring of emotions, the jubilation and everything else. And so, yeah, extremely excited, but also, you feel the whole length of the season in one day. It's such, and I have a feeling that our players have been feeling that too, based on the performance.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm going to try and find that audio clip, but it's, I don't know, Shane, take me back. Where did your Liverpool journey start? Because this is the second, league title in 5 years, of course, 6 years, yeah. Whenever it was, 2020, wasn't it, in 5 years?
Yeah, so I'm wearing the shirt right now, backwards. I actually got this. I've never worn this before because it's a 3XL and I typically wear an adult small. So I'm actually like enveloped by it, but I figured this might be good as time as any to bust it out.
It's a beautiful shirt, and for the audio listeners, it says Champions 1920 on it in gold letters. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't opt for the Premier League trophy one, though. That one is growing on me, where you get like the image, the graphic of the trophy on the back of the shirt. But anyway, so my Liverpool journey, you're talking about in my lifetime?
Yeah, where did it all begin? I'm sure I've asked you before, but I can't remember.
No. And what a better time than any. But yeah, so I grew up playing soccer because in Texas, when I couldn't stand the Texas sun playing baseball. So the ball would pop up like a fly ball and I would squint and the ball would just hit me on the nose and I would have a bloody nose. My dad was embarrassed to be seen with me. It was just, a whole thing. And so eventually around age 4, I picked up soccer and I really grew to it. And so it was something that I was doing as much as possible. And then I didn't have access to a lot of cable television. So I didn't have this concept of like all these leagues and the whole world of football of what it is now. And eventually video games caught up and I got to play FIFA 99. And in that, I just liked the color red growing up. So I saw that there was a team named the Reds, and then there was one player on the team who I could hold down the sprint button and they could run forever, and that was Michael Owen. Yes. And so then I started because I had access to a computer, I started on dial-up of AOL, the dial-up internet. I was starting to look things up, and then eventually and it's crazy how everything just comes together in life, but my high school English teacher, her and her husband and her whole family were huge Liverpool fans. And so and her son was the exact same age as I am. And she's the one who instilled the love of Shakespeare with me and everything else. And so they were like, yeah, you can come over. We pay for all the packages, the satellite, this, that, whenever it was, eons more dollars than what it is now. And they ended up showing me because I didn't see it live, but the same week that we won the Champions League in Istanbul in 2005, they had it recorded on a TiVo, on a DVR. And so they showed it to me and I was just elated. They didn't spoil it for me or anything. And so I know the anniversary for that was yesterday. So this was actually a very, very timely
today. It's today.
It's today. Oh my! Yeah. So yeah, so the combination of that and everything else, and so that's kind of where it began, and then it became this journey as the internet and as access in America became more and more and more. I just fell more in love, and then I thought the peak was going to be that 13-14 season because I was a senior in college. I was showing everybody. I was like, "We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league," and then the Gerrard slip, and. Yeah. And so, but it's just been this wonderful journey. I'm 33. So yeah, you're right. This is only the second time we've won the league in my lifetime.
I mean, honestly, it's a wonderful story. And we can talk a little bit about Istanbul maybe in a bit, but I love hearing people's stories about how they got into the Reds. What about you, Nigel? Just to, remind the listeners, where did it all start for you?
Do you see that picture I just sent the group?
I shall have a look right now. What is it? Explain it for the audio listeners. Oh, wow. It's a beautiful photo.
The little fella in the front, in the middle here, in the all red strip, that's me.
Excellent. So you were 10 years old. It was
1982.
Amazing.
Yeah. That was a Cub Scout camp, Scout sick, 1982. I actually scored the winning goal in that game. Ian Rush, the ball bounced around in the box and I buried it. So yeah, I played competitive football since I was about 8. From when I was 8 to about when I was 42. I retired at 42 after my team that I played with won a league title.
Wow!
So I won 2 league titles in my lifetime, and when I played, and it was great. But anyway, I started supporting Liverpool because I first saw Kenny Dalglish back. It must have been the 70s. I'm 53, by the way. If anyone has just let us know how old I am.
You don't forget.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, and I remember that year actually, 1982, sitting in my dad's old car. Him and my uncle had installed a radio in the old car, and you could get medium wave. I'm not sure if you ever listened to much on medium wave.
Of course I did. Yes, radio.
It's all crackly, and you couldn't hear anything. Mm-hmm. And this is coming from England, and it's going in and out and squealing and whistling, and you could barely hear it. But it's the day Ray Clements came back to Anfield with Tottenham. And I remember vividly listening in the car to that with a speaker pushed up against my ear. I've been a Liverpool fan all my life pretty much. And it's been quite a journey. Good, bad, indifferent and great.
And are you the same as me? Like a day like today, Nigel, just feels as beautiful as all of them? All of the great days that we've had?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said earlier on, Trent said, this is our bread and butter. This is the first time we've gotten the trophy.
What about you, Arne?
Yeah, exactly.
What about
Good question, Jay.
I'm from the island of Jersey, which not many people even know exists.
Jersey Dudek?
Pardon? Jersey Dudek, yes, exactly. Yeah. It's a very small island between England and France, but it's actually much closer to France. And it's I don't know. I was growing up in the 1980s. I was born in 1980. And when I was a kid, I started, like watching football. My dad was more of a sort of, he loved all sports. He did watch football, but he loved all sports. He was especially a rugby man because he was Welsh and absolutely adored the rugby. But he liked football and he liked Swansea and he liked all of the Welsh teams, Cardiff and all that stuff. And so I did too, but Swansea and Cardiff were never on TV. And I decided that football was a really good game to watch, but only if, and especially if, you wanted one team to win. So when I was 8 years old, I started watching games alone and stuff. If I was, whatever was on the big match on Sundays with ITV was the channel, and the presenter was called Elton Wellesby, which is one of the greatest names of any presenter of any particular show in the history of TV. Elton Wellesby would present the big match, and it might be sort of, I don't know, Leeds United versus Charlton, and I'd decide, I think I want Leeds to win, and then the more I watched football, the more I was like, no, I like this team in red. But then it was Liverpool versus Middlesbrough. And I was like, oh, well, here's two teams who often play in red. And I quite like both of them. But I didn't know anything. I was 8 years old. And I remember I was like, I'm going to support the winner of this match. That's going to be my team, because it's not good to change all the time. It doesn't feel right. So Liverpool won that game. I can't remember exactly what happened. I remember Ian Rush scored. It was about 1988 on his return, after his return from Juventus. And I went into the kitchen after the game and I asked my dad, is Liverpool a good team to support? And he said, Liverpool are the best team. And I said, well, okay. And that was it. And so it started completely at random. I could have been a Middlesbrough fan had Middlesbrough won that match. But it started completely randomly. And then over the years, it just grew into this big obsession, if you will. And basically, I would say I was a lot more affected by results, especially bad results, 10, 15 years ago. Oh, Nigel's found it. He's holding up 3-0 Liverpool against Middlesbrough. Was Ian Rush one of the scorers?
Scored the first goal in 44th minute, John Aldridge in the 75th minute, and Peter Beardsley in the 87th minute.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
So I tell you what, you watched a great team. That was a stunningly good team.
I loved it. And by the time it came to 1989, by the way, when we lost in the last kick of the game, Michael Thomas and all that, it still hurts. I was in floods of tears. I was like, I don't know if you saw the meme of that Manchester United kid. Some people were laughing at the Manchester United kid who was crying his eyes out at the Europa League final. Not me. I felt really sorry for that kid, because I was exactly that kid when Michael Thomas broke my heart at a similar age.
Joined the club when I was 18 at the time.
Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly. So yeah, it grew from there. And then now, even though I can take defeat a lot better now, I'm still very much obsessed with the narrative and the emotions and everything. And I do want to play you this video that Joe sent. I hope you can all hear it. Do tell me if you can't hear it. I'm going to play this. This is the audio leading up to the trophy lift from our friend Joe, who was at Anfield on the Kop today. What a special moment. See if you can hear this one, everybody.
The audio's not coming through, Owen.
Aha, thank you for telling me. Okay, let me just stop presenting, and then I'll present my screen again, and that should work. Give me a moment. This happens in my lessons sometimes, and then there's a very awkward silence when
It's just so weird how that is. You're just like, oh yeah, I just have to restart it, and then it always works. It's so strange like that.
It is strange. You tell me how these electrons work that send information. Anyway, I've got no idea. Is that better?
Nope.
No, still no.
Okay, are they chanting? Is it you'll never walk alone? They're chanting.
Technical issues. Don't worry about it. Leave it with me. I'm going to download it, and then I'll play it in a different way soon. But anyway, today, just to explain to the audio listeners, I will get you that audio clip as soon as I can. And in the meantime, just to tell you what's going on today, we're going to pay homage or homage to all of the champions, these wonderful players who have delivered number 20 to us. I'm still refusing to say back on our perch until we get to 21 titles as opposed to 20, but we have equaled those floundering dunderheads, Manchester United, with 20 titles. Of course we have. It's absolutely beautiful feeling, and very much a dream if you go back 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whenever it was that United won the title. It seemed like we would never catch them up, but here we are, 20 each. But before getting into the players, I want to talk about the manager. Shane, Arne Slot, give me your thoughts. thoughts?
Oh, absolutely wonderful. Give the man a contract extension for the next, 20 years. He's definitely brought, I think the tactical evolution is what people have been saying, coined the phrase throughout the whole season. And so, yeah, it's almost like two sides to the same coin when we have Klopp and Slot, and just, it feels like the past two seasons are just one story put together. And it's just, I just can't even just wait for the future. I'm so excited for the future. I was ready after once, Jurgen Klopp announced that he was going to leave. I was like, man, was this just a phase for me? Like this obsession, like my passion for Liverpool has grown this much. I can't believe I get to contribute to this podcast with people all across the globe. This is amazing, but is this really what's going to happen? And then I didn't know that there could be another level of obsession, of passion, of enthusiasm that this season has brought to me. And so, yeah, I just can't wait for more.
Hopefully he does stay for a heck of a long time. But he's so cool, isn't he, Nigel? Arne Slot, the way that he's gone about his business with such composure and steely-eyed will.
I think even the most optimistic fans among us wouldn't have predicted this. Who would have seen it when Jurgen Klopp was singing his name at the start of the season, or at the end of last season, that we'd be league champions in his first season? We were absolutely unbelievable. What a great job. Signed one player, Federico Chiesa, who barely played. I think he played 6-7 games overall.
108 minutes. Sorry to interrupt you there. He played 108 minutes of Premier League football all season.
That's incredible. He switched Ryan Gravenberch into a deeper line role, and he won Young Player of the Year, and fully deserved Young Player of the Year. Thought he was outstanding. Just the only way is up, I think, as well, with the potential signings we've already made for next season, and with possibly a few more as well. He's on that flag today with the other great managers and fully deserves to be there. So there's not much else can be. When you get your face on that flag, you're a legend. It's as simple as that. And he's just, it's hard to find words for what he's done. We cruised to the league. Like I think we got beaten twice up to the point where we sealed it. So yeah, it's marvelous.
I feel like if you'll follow with me, I wonder if this is how Chelsea fans felt after Jose Mourinho won them their title in the first season. Like, I just wonder, like, it's just almost like this head over heels. Like, you're like, I don't know what the tactics, everything else, it's different, but it's just, I wonder if this is how they felt.
See, I would suggest that Chelsea, like Manchester City, there's an element of them that they just don't know what it's like to win, honestly. When Mourinho came in, he came in with a huge reputation. He'd won the Champions League with Porto, for example, and he was, at the top of his game. He inherited a club that was, not just financially doping. It was financially, I don't know what the word is, like it was verging on overdose. Every single transfer window, it was absolutely horrendous what they were doing, buying up all the talent. So for him to win, of course, the Chelsea fans were ecstatic because it was their first title that they'd won. They had good players, but it's I think it's incomparable. I really do, because there's just an element, or it's like with Manchester City, a lot of their fans, if you talk to them or listen to their podcasts or whatever, they will only bring up the 116 charges or 132 charges, 115, whoever's counting, if you ask them, because it doesn't enter their head usually, because that's part of how they resolve their identity as supporting a cheat club, is that it's not a cheat club, it's a genuine club, and the players deserve to be what they want. They don't think about the cheating aspect a lot of the time, So I think somehow deep down, the joy cannot be the same, because somehow deep down, there's this little grain in the ointment. There's a tiny grain of sand in the oil that's burning of their joy, and it just stops them from feeling the pure joy that we can feel. as a club who has deserved it. What do you reckon, Nigel?
Definite. What you said there is right. But 4 words to why they can't do what we can. You'll never walk alone. They can't. They haven't got the mentality that we have. It's as simple as that. If you look at teams like Blackburn and Leicester, I think that they're more akin to where we are rather than Chelsea, kind of Manchester City's kind of spoiled brats. Chelsea and Manchester City, both the yo-yo teams up and down the divisions, down the years. Next thing this money all comes along. Back in the 80s, before the money, Chelsea were still racially abusing their own players and kicking their own players off trains and buses, the fans were. I don't know if you know that story, but Paul Cannavale, who was a centre midfielder with Chelsea back in the 80s, got racially abused on a train by some of his own fans. And Paul Cannavale was a decent player. I remember him playing midfield. And
horrendous. Yeah, I didn't know that story. That's
awful. Yeah. No, a lot of it's like I said about Blackburn, who had money at the time. Leicester, I'm not sure how much money they had at the time, but still, their fans are much more akin to, closer to our mentality, but still nowhere near. Like Man United fans might be slightly closer to our mentality, but not quite. I do remember being in my local, where you saw the pictures earlier on with the cup, where I was. I remember them being in a League Cup final a few years ago, and they beat somebody, I think it was Newcastle, 4-0 in the final, and there was a crowd of them up the top of the pub. I was with my friends, and there wasn't a peep out of them. There wasn't a sound. If that was us, we were going through the roof. Like, it's just, this is unique. We support a unique club, unique fans, and we're just, mentality is everything. The "you never walk alone" thing is just so important. And Scouse not English and all that, and fans all over the world and all that. No, it's mentality is vital to us. Simple as that, I think.
It's very well put. It's very well put indeed. Speaking of purity of emotion, hopefully you can hear this one. This is poor Virgil lifting the trophy. Thanks to our friend Joe. Wow, what a video. I had to listen to it. You have to listen to the audio in all of its glory. You don't get that, the actual volume that is there from the TV, because they put all kinds of condensers on their microphones. So there you go. That was a video straight from the Kop today. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely joyous. And as I say, a purity of emotion that other clubs can only dream of. We're going to go through our wonderful players. I don't know if we're going to have time to go through, whatever we go through. We'll get through what we can today. But just some of these legends. I do want to start with the legends who have managed to win the league for the second time. Starting with the player who has played more minutes than any other this season. And because Virgil was rested for one of the games, that's Mo Salah. What a player to start with. Mo Salah equalled the record of 47 goal involvements in a 38-game season. From the right wing, he's not a striker. He's an inside forward. His role changed this year, Shane. Again, Arne slot, the changes he made. Nigel was talking about before, bringing Gravenberch into the 6. He got Young Player of the Year, but Mo Salah, the Player of the Year in the Premier League. Unbelievable. Talk to me about Mo Salah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, we could spend the rest of the podcast talking about Mohamed Salah. This was the season of all seasons for him. I mean, you couldn't think that he could surpass the heights of 2017, 2018 when he originally joined, but that he did. And I honestly thought he was going to go even further with the goal contributions. But, after we wrapped up the league and his contract, I'm just happy he didn't end up injured, and the fact that he was able to equal that record is actually spectacular and should be celebrated and lauded just as much as anything else. But yeah, not having to track back, that change, he became more of a playmaker, so many more assists. It was just for so many months on end, we were relying on Mohamed Salah to come up with the magic, and he did time and time again.
Beautiful answer. He certainly did. The magic man, Mo. The magic man. Nigel, he's about to turn 33. He turns 33 in the summer. He did an interview with the mustachioed rat boy, Gary Neville, on his channel. And it was actually quite a good interview if you forget Gary Neville's part in it. But Mo Salah was talking about his change in role and how he was a little bit concerned that defenses have sort of, they've sort of cracked the code in the last few games, which is why he hasn't managed to score or assist so many. But that change that Shane alluded to with the fact that he doesn't have to defend and track back, that does mean that this contract extension, that he shouldn't run out of legs, should he? Another tactical tweak, and with Florian Wirtz providing the passes, maybe more central next year. What do you reckon, Nigel, about Mo?
Mo can play any role he wants to play. Unselfish player, but will fit into a team as an individual, if you know what I mean. It's just the way he is. I heard a bit of on the way home, I was listening to a bit of LFC TV, and they were talking to Phil Thompson, I think, was talking, and Robbie Fowler, Jason McAteer, Jay Spearing, and they were talking about, I think it was actually Robbie Fowler, and he said players now are on about being able to play till 38, 39, 40, and Mo was in such good condition, mind and body, that he should be able to thrive for another 5 or 6 years in this league without much of a bother. It's a different story when these guys back in the 80s, you'd be expected to retire before you were 34, 35, 36. But I just think Mo's mentality and body are in such a fine state. Now, injuries permitting, of course, and all that, I can't see him having any problem if he keeps staying fit. And then Arne gives him that little bit of leeway about not coming back. And he still comes back. I've seen him playing right back a few times. He doesn't always, they do what he has to. And I'd just like to say about, we've talked about Mo and Ryan Gravenberch having a slight change of position. What about Gary Neville's change of position when Nottingham Forest wouldn't let him in?
What happened? Sorry.
Did you not hear about it?
No, what happened?
Nottingham Forest banned Gary Neville from the last game of the season. They wouldn't they cancelled his credentials to go in and commentate on the game because of what he had said about the owner or something, or the manager or something like that. Okay. So they cancelled his credentials and they wouldn't let him in. So Sky had to put in a new commentary team for the Nottingham Forest Chelsea game because they cancelled his credentials. It was so good. I couldn't believe it.
Can we please do that?
That'd be brilliant.
Honestly, like I've mentioned before on this podcast, I'm sort of borderline worried about him. As much as I revel in Manchester United's demise, like I sort of worry about his mental state. But anyway, that's enough about him. We're talking about the champions here. Mo Salah, yeah, for me, Mo Salah, the role model, his role in the team, he's a role model across the world. He's a hero. He's someone whose sense of professionalism is sort of unsurpassed. And you've got the incredible talent, but allied with the most amazing mentality that is almost unique in football. But a player who I think has a very similar mentality is actually our captain, Virgil van Dijk, who I want to talk about now, because the amount of times Liverpool come back, like we did today in today's game, from if we go a goal down or things aren't going well, and so many teams buckle, like Manchester United did against Spurs, and they run out of ideas and they get panicky. Liverpool don't do any of that. They just, have more focus and more fight and more hunger. And that's got to come from the captain. Phil Thompson said in the LFC TV interviews after the celebrations, or I suppose during the celebrations, because the celebrations are going to last several months, at the beginning of the celebrations, if you like, how important it is compared to United, who had the likes of Paul Pogba, maybe Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo and others, Garnacho, these kind of players who are divisive. Arsenal had Aubameyang. Liverpool have good people, and that's a difference. That's a difference for us. That's a real key thing, is that we have good people. And I think that really comes from people like the captain, Virgil van Dijk. He's someone who just seems such a solid guy, such a good guy, such a leader, so inspirational. Can you imagine, Shane, turning up to work every day and Virgil's there to help you along? What an inspiration that must be.
Yes, no, I would feel the pressure to raise my standards each and every day to make sure that I can't come in, sleepy eyed, half cocked, not even like paying attention to what's going on, but I'd have to be focused and concentrated and in the right state of mind before even walking in the door. And so just to be able to attempt to match the standards of professionalism.
Absolutely. And staying with you, Shane, a young guy with a lot to learn. Ryan Gravenberch, he's 23 years old and 9 days, just turned 23.
Wow.
What's his ceiling? Because he's already the young player of the season. Can he become the best player in the league in the next few years? What do you reckon?
I definitely believe he can become one of the best midfielders in the league if he isn't already considered that, which I believe he is. So, yes, I do think he has a higher ceiling. And then we see moments, we see flashes of his youthfulness. Like, even though he's performing like, a fully matured player, he's not yet. I mean, that was very evident today because, he's done it all this season, including getting sent off. So, yeah, there are hard lessons still to be learned, and one of them was today. But I honestly, I was just happy that he got his own standing ovation and was able to leave the pitch being plauded. So he's great, he's wonderful, and he's only going to get better.
If we were to sign Florian Wirtz, and we can talk about that, we'll talk about Wirtz later, but if we were to sign him, and if Slot's plan was to play him in midfield, then presumably one of the midfielders would have to drop out. So you would play Szoboszlai and McAllister behind Florian Wirtz, or you would play Gravenberch and Szoboszlai behind Florian Wirtz, or you would play Gravenberch and McAllister behind Florian Wirtz. Where would you be leaning if you could, pick a team next week to play, for example, the Champions League final? You had to play Wirtz with two of our midfielders behind him. Would Gravenberch be one of the two midfielders behind him? Shane?
Yes, I would definitely go with Gravenberch and McAllister. I do love Dominic Szoboszlai, and I think he could fit a role even in the forward line. And so I think there are other places for Szoboszlai to still make that starting 11.
I've let the pronunciation go all season, but
I'm not gonna Szoboszlai.
No. It's the start of it, because he's not slow. Okay, think of somebody weeping. He sobs. Okay, he Szoboszlai.
Szoboszlai. Great. Yes, I remember this. I remember this from like the beginning of the season.
It's very good.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
Dom.
just going to blame the NBC sports coverage for their pronunciation.
Oh, no, it's totally fine. But Nigel suggests Dom is also a good one, because yes, who knows? But yeah, that's a very good answer. I totally agree with you, Gravenberch and McAllister. Nigel, you were saying very early in the season how much you adored how Gravenberch was adapting. I mean, if you compare to the very, very, very beginning of the season when you first saw him, sort of listed as a number 6 compared to how you feel now? What's the difference?
He's more confident. That's about it, really. Listen, I think I said it earlier in the season as well. I saw him playing for Ajax at 16, and I was thinking, this guy's a really, really good player. He went to Bayern Munich and didn't have the best of luck. So when I found out we were signing him, I think, Jesus, this kid could be anything. He didn't have a great first season under Jurgen. And the day we beat Chelsea, in the second time we beat them in the League Cup final, he got kicked out of the game and had to go off on a stretcher. The guy should have been sent off. I think it was Caicedo. Kicked him out of the game. The guy should have been sent off.
Mm-hmm.
And he just went in there this season because a lot of the Dutch players, total football was apparently invented in Holland, in the Netherlands, by Rinus Michels, who was the manager who led them to the European Championships in 1988 and had been there previously, back in the 70s as well, I think. All the great Dutch players could play anywhere. And as far as I'm concerned, Gravenberch had it in him, and we've seen it so much this season. I saw that, like I said, I've said it several times, I was at the game in September against Bournemouth, and he was just doing these half turns, and they couldn't get near him. It was just intelligent footballers. If we look at our squad, if we run down Salah, Van Dijk, Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, I'm just looking down, Alisson, Cody Gakpo, Jota, I'm just keeping going, looking down the list again, Endo, Chiesa. There's probably others as well, but I'm just looking at what I'm after seeing mostly this season. Intelligent players. And if you have intelligent players who can play in a system and be adaptable and versatile, it's going to go a long way. Teams that help one another, teams that can. It's not so much square pegs in round holes as round pegs in round holes, but can also adapt. That's the thing. That's the big thing with this squad: adaptability.
Absolutely, and bringing different skills to the table as well. I mean, you have Gravenberch, whose hips sort of flash and flutter, and he does this sort of Elvis-style dance that sort of flummoxes his opponents all the time. But the next person on the list is Alexis McAllister, and he's got a different skill set because he's sort of, if you were to create a long list of all the qualities a midfielder needs, they need to be able to read the game. They need to be able to find space. They need to be able to find their opponents in space. They need to be able to pick the right pass. They need to be able to tackle, to have a long shot, to have a long pass, etc., etc., etc. You could give Alexis McAllister at least 8 out of 10, at least, in tons of these attributes you need. I've said it all season. I think he's not only the best midfielder at Liverpool, he's the best midfielder in the league. He hasn't played since we won the league. He's been out with a little niggling injury, which I think means his, maybe his wrist from all the cocktails in Ibiza is a bit achy, and that's why he hasn't played. But we've missed him all the time. Every single time where he hasn't played this season, we've missed him, and he's there, and he reminds me of sort of a Ronnie Whelan character from back in the 80s where, he was an unsung hero, but so talented and so technically graceful, skillful, strong in the tackle.
As the song goes, the best there's been from the Argentine.
Indeed.
Says it all.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't remember the lyrics of that song. Messi was all right, but we've got McAllister. Shane, how impressed have you been? It's been a 10 out of 10 season from McAllister, hasn't it?
Oh, yes. No, he's brought this creativity to the midfield that we were desperately lacking. Just that positional switch. I think I've said it before, but right at the start of the season, whenever Gravenberch and McAllister switched, it seemed to provide so many more opportunities. He's able to pass the ball in incredible ways, in very inventive ways. And so, yeah, McAllister has been... also he can put in a tackle. He knows the dark arts very well. He can buy a foul very, very, very cleverly, I might add. And so, yeah, McAllister, he is a little magician for us, and I do love him so much as a player. I honestly, from Brighton players, I was screaming for Trossard during that transfer window, but McAllister, I couldn't have been happier or more surprised.
Absolutely. I spoke about Baleba for the past couple of weeks from Brighton. Bring me Baleba. But anyway, let's stick with Liverpool. Sticking with Liverpool, another guy who's come into the team. He had a couple of close calls. We lost the Champions League final in Paris, and as a Parisian, that would have especially hurt. Ibu Konate, it's his birthday today, 26 years old. You could say that he's not been entirely convincing for the past couple of months. I'm not sure if he's carrying a knock or whatever, but he's still godlike to me, Nigel. I don't know. How do you feel about Ibu?
Yeah, like you said, he hasn't been great there for a while, but like he's still solid player. He made a couple of great tackles there, running back and people. If Ibu maintains his concentration all the time, he's brilliant. He just get these these lapses every the last couple of months or so, where he's doing kind of things he shouldn't be doing, really, making clearances that he shouldn't be making, like heading the ball back into the centre when he should be trying to put it out over the line, if you know what I mean. But he'll get back. He's too good not to. Simple as that. He's too good not to. He's 26 today. Like, people saying his contract is coming up. Well, I heard earlier on that, whether it's true or not, that they're looking to renew, and hopefully he will, because he's still 5-6 years maybe more. Probably give him a 3-year contract and then see what happens after that and try and go again. But yeah, I'd definitely be trying to hang on to Ibu.
I'd give him more than 3. I'd give him 4. I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, Nigel, staying with you, if Ibu does get sold this summer, who could you bring in who's as good as Ibu? Because it's a difficult ask.
Yeah, tough one. It's hard because, you can say, we're going to sign somebody from the German league, the Portuguese league, the Spanish league, the French league. You just don't know. You just don't know if these guys, even the English league, you just don't know if these guys are going to be able to or not. It's being a Liverpool player comes with a whole other set of, complications and pressure. So it's tough. Then there are supposedly we've been looking at a few players. Loads of names have been mentioned recently. I'm not going to go into that now. We don't need to. But cross that bridge when we come to it. Maybe we're going to have to be breaching that subject now fairly soon. Well, say give it in the next 2 years, when we're going to have to try and seriously think about replacing Virgil.
Well, precisely, and that's the thing. I mean, but for now, with Ibu, the bottom line is he's damned hard to replace, because he's got everything. He's got the speed. He's got reading the game. He was very combative today against Mateta, which I really love, because not many centre backs are able to do that. He's massive. He gets his head on tons of clearances, and he uses the ball well. He could improve his goal scoring. He got 1 goal and 2 assists, which is bravo. But I think he could be, aiming for like 4 or 5 goals a season, given his size and the way that he can dominate in the air. But I freaking love him. Ibu Konate, I actually lived for a little while in the neighborhood where he's from for a couple of years. And I was just so delighted. That was when we signed him. And I was just so delighted that he came to Liverpool. And he's just proved to everyone since coming here that he deserves to play on the biggest stage. And, his performance against Benzema in that final in Paris, he was so unlucky to be on the losing side. He was absolutely our man of the match that day.
Do you remember his signing day on?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I remember the video.
The explosions of colour and stuff like that with his friends, and the release of his jersey number and stuff like that was really good. It seemed like he just seemed a very good guy who wanted to be, who liked being with his friends and stuff like that, and they were happy for him. It was great. It really was. I remember it really well.
Yeah, totally. And that brings us back to Phil Thompson's point that we've got good guys throughout this team, and Ibu's another one, despite as well as the incredible footballing qualities that he brings. He just seems like such a good teammate and such a smart, humble guy. Who's just brilliant to be around. Shane, what do you love about Ibu, and how hopeful are you that he gets to sign another deal?
Yes, I am very hopeful that he will get to sign another deal despite the patchiness as of late in form. And I do think he has like much like the Gravenberg situation. I do think his ceiling is higher, but not only that, I do like his aerial ability. The duels that he's able to win in the air, I think is very valuable for us. We can't just rely solely on Virgil to have the height inside our own 18-yard box. And so, yeah, I am quite the fan of Ibou Konate. And I'm not saying that we don't need another center back signing in the next 2 or 3 windows, but I definitely believe he's someone worth keeping and having around in the club.
Absolutely. The next person on the list is Szoboszlai. If you're thinking of Szoboszlai this season, Shane, what springs to mind?
I'm instantly thinking of that goal that he scored the other week, where he can just put in this like power shot from a difficult angle. It doesn't happen all the time, but the rarities of these missiles that he's able to shoot off, and then just hit the running, and then instantly the image of him after the Manchester City match when he's face first on the pitch, just prostrate, just like completely spent. And so the workhorse, the heart, a young Hungarian James Milner. Like I just have so much love for the tenacity that he shows on the pitch.
It's a great answer. And 6 goals and 6 assists. I mean, for someone with his role, which is I saw a stat earlier that he has fewer touches in the penalty box playing as the number 10 role in this slot system than he did playing in the number 8 role against Jurgen. He actually has fewer touches in the opposition box. He doesn't get that far forward because he's there to cover Mo Salah basically, and that attitude, Shane, has been magnificent all season. I love his attitude, but despite the fact he's got all of this space to cover that Mo Salah is not charged with covering anymore, and still getting 6 goals and 6 assists. The risk if we do bring in someone like Wirtz and Szoboszlai is the one to drop to the bench, is who's going to do all that defensive running? Because his attitude's been ideal as well as his talent, Shane.
Absolutely. And honestly, he's a Premier League winner. And so even though the stats say 6 goals and 6 assists, still a Premier League winner. He still has the medal, and his contributions are invaluable. Also, just a possibility that we might not be taking into account that for Wirtz, Slot might be looking to change his role. Slot might have different plans for him in mind because Slot has changed players for us before. And so I'm hesitant to say that he's going to fit perfectly into one thing when Slot might have other ideas.
Absolutely true. I've been sort of daydreaming with, as many people have, of Wirtz in the Firmino role, but we'll see, because maybe Slot's going to sign a killer number 9 as well. I don't know. What do you reckon, Nigel?
Yeah, Shane actually said it earlier on about a change in role for Szoboszlai. You could see him switching to the left-hand side if Wirtz comes in. We'll leave Wirtz till later on, but yeah, Dom is the type of guy who Slot said, look, we need your legs. We're going to forego your Hungarian type game, your international game, for a little bit more workmanlike for the team. And he's been absolutely outstanding at it. The game against Manchester City, when we beat them 2-0, and he set up more for the first goal, scored the second, and he was just outstanding. At the end of the game, nearly passed out, face down on the pitch, when he had just absolutely put Manchester City to the sword that day. He was magnificent. That's the type of player we want, and I love Szoboszlai. I think he's absolutely brilliant. The one thing that I'd like to see from Slot and Szoboszlai is that if he let him off to play the Hungarian role a little bit more at times, not just play the one role the whole time. Let him roam forward, like that goal he scored last week against Brighton. Just let him roam forward a little bit more. Let him start hitting the knuckleball, and let him start getting shots from outside the box. Just release him a little bit more. Like Gravenberg filled in that role. I think it's like I said, intelligent players have the ability to switch roles. Like he ran until he couldn't run anymore. We had a bit of a problem with that near the end of the season with Ryan Gravenberg and with Dom. So that's why we need a little bit more reinforcement. And like whoever we get, like when you're talking about the role again. The other possible two signings, well, one is pretty much done, and then the other possible one, the two fullbacks we're talking about, might actually release him to play a little bit more down the middle because of the running power of the two guys that are supposedly coming in.
It's a very, what's the word? Enticing thought, isn't it? To have these two flyers down the wing from fullback who can, get up and down a lot, although, questions are certainly there in terms of Frimpong's defensive ability, but we'll see what happens. We haven't even signed him yet. But yes, what an asset Szoboszlai is, whether, the fact that you can say that as the best pressing midfielder in the Premier League for his running and his power and his, ability to hassle opposition players, and on the other hand have this incredible technique, this sort of Harry's chocolate orange of skills, segments of skill. But talk about flying wing backs, Andy Robertson is certainly no longer the flying wing back that he was 5-6 years ago. He's only just turned 31, but in playing time, he's 34, 35, as we've already discussed in Kop On. But I think he's had a very good season. Only one assist, but that's not really his fault. He's, as he said himself, he's put in some great crosses. And, he didn't use the words himself, but if we didn't have such wasteful people in the number 9 position all season for his crosses, then he could have got at least 5 assists, but more like 10 or more. So Robertson, he's done well, given his age, given the legs, given that he's not as quick as he once was. He still makes good decisions generally. He's defensively solid enough. He's likely to be replaced, and if we get the Kerkez deal in, I don't see Kerkez coming in immediately. I think that might be a bit of they'll be both fighting for that left back position. What do you think?
Remember when Robbo signed, he didn't play for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? Same thing happened with Fabinho. Didn't play for 2 months, worked their way into the team after that, and then became fixtures. So that was Jurgen's way. Maybe this is slightly different, but I think these guys have to integrate themselves to our squad, into the system. So Kerkez, if we do get Kerkez, he can learn off Robbo. It's the next thing. Next following on. And sorry.
Well, I was just going to say he can give Robbo a break as well. I mean, Slot was saying midweek, I can't remember who was interviewing him. I've watched so much Liverpool content this week, it's ridiculous. But somebody was interviewing Arne Slot about his role, how basically, I think it was on Sky Sports, they were asking Arne Slot about things he would change for next season, basically, things you can learn from this season. And he did mention that from November to March, there was a core group of players who never had a day off. And he would like to basically rotate more next season. And I think this is some of the logic behind Kerkez, is that if we get playing a low block team, if you're playing Everton or if you're playing whatever, and just to get an extra attacking player out wide, then you could play Kerkez there because he's got the pace to get back if we need to on the covering runs. So it would just give Robertson basically more of a chance to stay in as peak condition as possible, because as a fullback, he really is one of the best we've ever had, Shane. And I want him to continue next season and perhaps play less, play fewer games, but play more games at the peak of his powers, if you know what I mean. Do you think that's possible, Shane?
I definitely think it's possible. I think his workload can change as well, as the whole team is changing and he's adapting. But I mean, if you see all of the stats with the assists and everything else, his contributions have been exceedingly beyond expectations. And so to only have 1 assist this season, I definitely can remember several, like, near goal clearances, whenever he would just make a goal saving block. And those I think should count as well for, his contributions to the team and the score line. And so, yeah, plus his mentality, he's one of the captains of, he's like one of the captains in our team, because we have a team of captains. And so I just think he's also a very valuable resource. And honestly, I thought he was going to go before Trent, but, with everything going on this season. So, yeah, I'm happy in light of everything else and how the season has turned out. I definitely want him to stay around.
And staying with you, Shane, about Trent, it's so sad he's leaving. He did burst into tears when he was with his family. You could see him, his brothers and things that were trying to hide the cameras away from him at one point, because the camera was following him around, at least on the pictures I saw. And it was a bit unfair. But I was very impressed. Well, a couple of things. Firstly, I was very impressed that there was very little booing today, because I do agree with Jurgen. I don't think that's the Liverpool way to boo our players. In fact, I'm sure it's not the Liverpool way. I understand that there are arguments and people saying, well, we need to voice our disapproval one way or another, but I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong to boo, because we need to support the players while they're in the shirt. I was impressed with the reception he got today and the way he was allowed to celebrate. But the other thing, I was just so sad because I think he's making a mistake. I'm sad for him, but I'm just really sad because there was this one pass in the second half that the ball came to Trent in space and Crystal Palace gave him space, which is always a silly thing to do. And you just know when Trent has got some space to look up and pick a pass, then not only is he going to pick a pass that's really exciting, but he's going to do it in a really stylish way. And the one I was thinking of was, instead of like all the right backs in the world would play this ball high over the top, they would lift the ball over, but this was played on the floor and it was a fizzed diagonal pass. And what I'm going to miss is the sound of the crowd, because it's almost an erotic kind of sound that I'm not going to do an impression of, but it's not like other crowd sounds where it's like, oh, or wow. There's something quite erotic about when Trent plays a pass. And I'm going to miss that, Shane, that erotic passing and but also I was very impressed with the crowd today and that relationship. But how are you feeling about Trent, Shane?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm sad that he's leaving. I'm sad that he was booed. I do disagree with his decision, but I don't think that means he needs to be booed at whatsoever. I do think you can say, hey, I don't think that's, on a podcast, be like, hey, I don't think that's the best decision, but thank you so much for your contribution, the 9 trophies, the goals, the assist, everything else, everything that you've done for us. Thank you so very much. And always to applaud him and always to publicly show him support and praise. But you can also just disagree with a business decision. And that's simply what this is just disagreeing with a business decision. I did like how Klopp had to come back after a year and scold the kids and let us know that dad is very unhappy and that mom has told him all the bad things that we have been doing since he's been gone. So, but I do remember when you're talking about that very erotic pass, as you so aptly put it, the camera switching to Jurgen and Jurgen being like, what a ball. What a ball. And it was just, his expression, classic Jurgen, you don't need to be an expert in lip reading to know what he's saying. And so, yeah, it's the sound is, ooh, it's more than that. It's just, there's just so much to it. And I am going to miss that pass. I am going to miss that ability. And that's why Real Madrid wants him, is for that pass.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Nigel, I mean,
you can't really hear your own, but if you want me to say something about Trent, I can fully understand why people got upset.
Sorry.
Because it's the way he went about leaving. That's the problem. I think that's the reason there was booze. Not the fact that he was leaving, the way he went about it. Yeah, no problem. It's the way he went about it. Ran down the contract. Had known this for a long time. could have just said to the club, please sell me, and we would have got a bit of a fee for it. That's what people were upset about. That's it, really. I don't want to say anything else about it, really. It's just not done.
Oh, you're back. Looks like you're back.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes, and your hands moving, because before it was just like permanently stuck like this. So
Okay.
I think you're back.
Okay, good.
I had a black screen, so.
Okay. Sorry, it's my internet. I don't know. It's my internet is upset at Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. Let's move on to Alisson. Alisson Becker is the next on the list. The holy goalie had a very snazzy Jesus t-shirt that he was celebrating in, and respect to everybody whose faith helps them, whatever that faith might be around the world. Alisson, another majestic season from the most underrated role in all of football, the goalkeeper. Having a great goalkeeper changes a lot more than you think, and you realize it when you don't have a great goalkeeper, and then you do have a great goalkeeper, you realize just how many points they win. He's probably won us 10 points this season, just off the top of my head, Nigel.
I have a little story for you. I was at Alisson's debut in Dublin, his first game for Liverpool against Napoli, the year he signed. First practice match when he signed. Him and Fabinho. Fabinho played and made his debut the same day. Liverpool won 5-0. Napoli had a corner early on, played this high ball into the box. Ali came out, caught the ball. The crowd went absolutely ballistic. Ali just catching the ball in the box. It was crazy. You're looking at this, and oh, Jesus, he caught it. I don't know how many. I don't know if you two remember David James punching the ball into his own goal.
Yeah, Adam Bolt conceding one from a corner. He was like Dracula. He hated crosses.
Yeah, that's what I used to call David James the Vampire.
Excellent.
For years. Same reason.
Excellent.
Yeah. Alisson Becker is the best goalkeeper in the world, or as you said it before, Nolan, Alisson Ramesses Becker, best in the world, pure and simple. There isn't anybody better. Somebody was trying to tell me one day that Martinez was better than him. No.
Absolutely not. Martinez would disagree, but he'd be in the minority. So would your friend. No, Alisson Becker, unbelievable, best in the world. Shane, if you're gonna, the safety of having Alisson there is something that we've spoken about before, but it's just so wonderful. With Mamardashvili coming in next season, the Georgian, he's got to be number 2, right? Mamardashvili. He's got to, we've got to convince Alisson that he's still the number 1. He's the number 1 forever. Really? Do it, don't we?
I mean, yeah, I think he's deserved it. I mean, there were even questions earlier this season after his injury, and Kelleher came in and did such a great job. Alisson Becker then raised his levels when he came back from injury and re-earned that number 1 spot. And so I truly believe that Alisson can continue to play for a few more years, because goalies have a longer career than most. And so Alisson Becker, I mean, yeah, the big Brazilian, you could just go on and on about him, the goal that he scored against West Brom after his father died. He's just provided us so many moments, all those Jesus tank tops under his jerseys. I mean, I want one. I want one, he's just great. And I think he's a fabulous character. And I think he's also one of these people that kind of flies under the radar with his personality. But I believe he actually helped set the tone with Virgil, with Andrew Robertson, with Wataru Endo, with everyone who knows what it's like to be in a leadership position in that locker room. I think people looked to Alisson Becker and they tried to emulate his professionalism.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And he's one of these legends with two Liverpool Premier League medals now to his name, and it's the least he deserves. Nigel?
Yeah, just another little story. I was at Liverpool and Huddersfield a few years ago, and I was over in the far corner and saw a friend of mine who I hadn't actually met before. Went over to him and had to move again right on half time because the guy whose seat I was sitting in came in at half time, which was crazy. We were winning 3-0 at the time. But I got moved to a seat in the front row behind the goal, behind the Anfield Road end goal. So it means I got to see Alison Becker close up. And we had a corner at the other end. And when the corner was cleared, straight away you could see Ali was the one who was organising and calling everybody back to get back into the shape. You could see him holding his hands out and calling people back. It was incredible to watch. He set the whole tempo for the defence, where to be and when to come back. It was really interesting. I thought it was just an incredible thing to see about the role that he played.
Yeah, that's very interesting. He is a leader. And you would, go back to the good guy thing again. You'd follow him. You just do it. You say, "Okay, Alice, you just have all my respect. I'll do exactly what you say." I was there at PSG Liverpool this season in the stadium. Got to see that utterly incredible performance, keeping PSG out single-handedly. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in one of the games that Slot has referenced since. Not as much as he's referenced Nottingham Forest, but he's mentioned it a lot. It clearly still rankles, and I think that might be a blessing in disguise going forward in terms of building the team and building from here. Going back to Arne Slot just very briefly. Jurgen, when we won in 1920, he strengthened the team. I can't remember who with. I think Minamino was one of the signings in 2020, and as my memory serves me, perhaps Thiago Alcantara, who was injury prone, and maybe one other player. I can go back and check, but I don't think Arne strikes me as that kind of manager to be content with the fact that we've won the league and sort of add a couple of squad players here and there. I think we're really going to go balls out, if you pardon the expression, this summer and get some serious players that can really improve our chances in the Champions League next season. What do you think, Shane? Can you see it being, as big a summer as some of us are predicting?
I'm very cautiously optimistic for once, surprisingly. But yeah, most of the time, all the time during Jurgen's tenure, I thought we were always going to go huge in a transfer window. Now, the whole midfield rebuild was as big as it ever got. But I don't know with FSG. I don't know how to gauge them. I agree. I think Slot would want to do more to continue the rebuild throughout the squad. I don't know how on board FSG is. I don't know what the dealings are with everything else. And so I'm cautiously optimistic to agree with you. But if we end up only signing one or two players, that probably, I also probably wouldn't be surprised by that.
Well, I just looked it up. Summer of 2020, we signed Thiago. We signed Tsimikas as a backup left back, and we signed Diogo Jota as a backup sort of centre forward. Nigel is now holding up a very minimalist summer we had back. Was that 2010 summer, I believe, with Roy Hodgson in front of Joe Cole,
Minimalist,
Ivanovic, and Danny Wilson from Rangers. That was a trio.
I was actually looking for something else, and I will find it.
Yeah, but so we signed Diogo Jota. I'll go back to Shane on this then. Diogo Jota, Thiago Alcantara, and Tsimikas. Jota was there to play a role in the first team. Thiago, of course, we would have loved him to play every game, but it was quite evident that even when we signed him, that he wouldn't be able to play every game. So we signed a sort of crocked genius. Diogo Jota is an excellent player, but he was going to, was he really going to challenge Firmino, Mane, and Salah? He was sort of brought in as a sort of fourth choice in a way, with a chance of going in. And you said you're cautiously optimistic, but if we sign Wirtz and we sign two fullbacks and we signed, let's say, for example, one more player, do you think we're going to go really big on a number 9? Because I think we are.
I hope so. I don't think Slot's happy with the the turnout, the product, the end product that we've been displaying, given based on the big chances. I mean, the big chances created stat is kind of wild. We have looked so deadly, and then it's just that final finishing touch often that is just lacking. Oh, Nigel's holding up a photo, so we've got to explain for the listeners, for the people not watching, what we are looking at. We're looking at some cool. You explain, Owen.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this is Gerard Houllier. When was this? 2000? Something like that?
1999.
1999.
Yeah,
I was a year out. Okay, so you explain it, Nigel. Who's there? Because I can see my the way you're holding your phone.
Okay. Sammy Hupia. Enough said.
Legend.
Eric Meyer. Big Mad Eric. Yeah, well, not all right. Sander Westerveld. Treble winning goalkeeper.
5 out of 10. 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Vladimir Smitser. Istanbul hero. Stefan Oncho. Great player.
8 out of 10.
And Titi Kamara, who did all right for us.
10 out of 10. Uh-huh.
And Julia made some brilliant signings. The season after, in 2001, we signed Marcus Babbel, Gary McAllister, Bernard Diomaid, Peggy Arfexad, and Nicky Barmby. And then you can add to that, after a few months after that, you can add Didi Hamann and Emil Heskey to that.
That was a great year.
So,
yes. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, Jurgen had even more hits, I would say, than Gerard Houllier, but those hits, they hit good. Gary Mack, Didi Hamann, brilliant players. Sammy Huppier, of course. Where do you see it going?
What a class player.
Where do you see it going this summer, Nigel? With we're going to go big, go large?
Yeah. Well, I think we've done it already. These other teams are going to be at their worst end. He's it looks like 120 million if we're going to get Florian Wirtz, rather than the 150 that we're talking about, because it's not Bayern Munich buying him. And if we get Kerkez and we get Frimpong, I saw a rumor a few weeks ago. Somebody sent me a rumor saying that we are chasing Julian Alvarez before it was mentioned at all. But then I seen somebody else mentioning Atletico Madrid were possibly chasing Darwin Núñez.
Yeah. That would make sense.
So what do we think of a possible swap deal between Darwin Núñez and money for Julian Alvarez?
I mean, can you imagine? Shane, you answer first. I'll come back to it. I'm just going to sit here imagining. So forgive me if I zone out. But you answer, Shane.
So for the past couple of years, I keep hearing about these potential swap deals, and I never end up seeing an actual swap deal go down. So, yeah, I would love to see an actual true swap happen, but I've never seen the swap actually come to fruition. So maybe not, but in an ideal world, in my fantasy world that I have in my mind and I exist in, yeah, we give Darwin Núñez to Atletico Madrid, we get Julian Alvarez, and we win all 4 trophies next season.
I think the way it would work, because I think like a lot of Spanish clubs, they need the cash. The way it will work in theory is that we give them Darwin Núñez plus around 30 million or 40 million or something, because Alvarez is more highly rated. And I don't know, it could happen, just like many other things could happen. We don't know, it might not happen as well. But I'm just imagining if we have Wirtz and we keep Luis Diaz, let's say, and Cody Gakpo and Julian Alvarez and Mohamed Salah as a strike force, with Frimpong and Kerkez running up the wings. Basically, you've got an attack of, let's choose, it's 50-50 between them, but let's say, for example, Lucho on the left wing, Julian Alvarez in the middle, Mohamed Salah on the right, Florian Wirtz behind them, Frimpong overlapping on the right, Kerkez overlapping on the left. I mean, we scored 2.3 goals per game on average this season, more than any other team. 2.3 goals, as much as we've just been talking about, saying that, our number 9 should have done better, etc., etc. We still scored more goals than any other people. But an attack like that's likely to hit the 3 goals a game mark as an average, because that's truly insane if they can stay fit, because then you'd have on the bench you would have Cody Gakpo. You know, if we sold Jota and Nunez, okay. But imagine Gakpo coming on. What a player Cody Gakpo has become. He's unbelievable. So yeah, those sort of thoughts, they drive me, you know, into an absolute reverie. They send me spinning into my dreams.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to call it quits for today. I've got a show later on, and so I have to take care of my dogs and everything else, and then head on off to the show. But because how many more players do we have? I mean, we've been going for like an hour and a half.
I've only just realised we've been going for an hour and a half. Let's all call it a day here. How many players? We still got basically half the squad to talk about. So we are definitely.
I know.
Thank you so much.
I could foresee this going for multiple hours.
Excuse me, yeah, it definitely would have done. But thank you for reminding me. Speaking of spinning into dreams, I lost all space-time, the space-time continuum. So what's the show you've got going on, Shane?
Oh, yeah, no, I think you'll actually really like this one a lot. It's called Double Barreled Detective. Nice. Did you know that in 1902, Mark Twain wrote his own Sherlock Holmes adventure?
I did not know, but I would love to read it. He's a very talented writer, Mark Twain.
I know. It's a story about Sherlock Holmes coming to America, and not surprisingly, he's not the smartest and he doesn't solve the mystery, but he actually has the ending is actually very Huckleberry Finn, and so it's I think you should look into it. I think you'd really like it a lot. But this director has adapted it into a stage play, and I play Sherlock Holmes' long lost nephew, Fetlock Jones, who's like this American-born character that Mark Twain invented. So it's quite the story. I didn't know it existed before taking up the role.
Wish I lived in LA and I could come and see that. That sounds absolutely magnificent. Thank you, Shane. Thank you for giving up your time, for sharing this time and
thank
this
you for
joy.
having me on. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Owen.
And let's speak
This is the best
soon.
way to spend the day.
That's it. I mean, have a marvelous, marvelous time, Shane. Thank you so much for giving up your time. We'll speak soon, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Nigel, it's just us. We're gonna wind it down because Shane's just brought to my attention. We've been going for an hour and a half. He mentioned Mark Twain. Excellent Mark Twain quote. Is never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. So that's a good one.
Very good.
But speaking of stupid people, did you see Manchester United? We have a quick chat about them before we. I mean, I know it's Liverpool champion thing, but I mean, I think they lost what was, billed by Kieran Maguire, the only Maguire that matters, the football finance expert. Kieran Maguire said that before the Europa League final, that was the biggest game in their history because it was win or lose so much, and they lost it, Nigel. And on the day where we lift the trophy for the 20th time and we've drawn level with them, it seems like unless they can somehow get rid of this deadwood that no one wants from their squad, I can't see a realistic way that Man United come back to challenge us in the next couple of years. Yeah. What do you think?
Spot on. Yeah, I saw a thing today in one of the papers that this newly promoted Saudi team are going to try and sign Onana for 35 million. Never mind, I'd take arm and all. I'd take head, legs and arms. He's absolutely diabolical. For the older listeners, I don't know if you remember it or not, and you might have remembered. Do you remember the $6 million man on the television?
I do, yes. Remind our young
Lee Majors
what that was.
Yeah. The Bionic Man, basically, is what it was. Lee Majors played this character called Steve Austin, not the wrestler, but that was the name, Steve Austin. He had parts of his body reconstructed after an accident, and it gave him bionic powers. Well, in the show, when he was either jumping or lifting something or running at high speed, it would be slowed down into slow motion with a kind of a soundtrack behind it. They had a soundtrack that a special noise or whatever it was. But I had said to a few Man United fans today, do you remember that $6 million man, the Bionic Man? And when he when he'd do something, some feat of strength or something like that, he'd move in slow motion. Well, I said to them today that Onana was like that, moving in slow motion, but everyone else is still at full speed. It was just, oh my God, he is diabolical. You get what I mean?
Totally, absolutely.
Oh, there's such, but then you get guys like McTominay, who was left and won a league title, and Anthony is lighting up Spain.
He was voted the Serie A's best overall player, Scott McTominay. 12 goals and 7 assists from midfield.
Anthony is lighting up Spain. Like, what are they doing? But I just want to say now, yeah, where all this has come from is Alex Ferguson's selfishness. He left Manchester United in such a bad place to cement his own legacy. The direct opposite of what Jurgen Klopp did for us last year, and what Shankly did with Bob Paisley, what Paisley did with Joe Fagan, what Joe Fagan did with Kenny Dalglish, passing the baton on and leaving the club in a good state for the incoming manager. Exact opposite to what Liverpool were doing. Ferguson did to make him look like he was the best. You know, it's absolutely incredible how he left the club, the state he left that club in, and they haven't recovered, and hopefully won't for a long time, and looking like they won't for a long time.
I partially agree with you. I agree with you that, yeah, he did leave them in a bad state, but since then they've had all manner of resources to be able to spend their way out of trouble. And this is now the point where they can't do that. And it's the first time since Ferguson left that they can't spend their way out of trouble anymore. And I put a lot of that down to Ten Hag signings. I sent a list, an image in our WhatsApp group the other day. The major signings by Ten Hag. I've got the list here. Let me just load it up. I mean, this is a Liverpool podcast, but I do find it fascinating what's happening at United, because, you know, as our biggest rival and all that. Let me just load up this image for a moment.
Yeah. I don't know what the. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking about Mason Mount, for example.
Yes.
There were a couple of Liverpool fans who wanted us to sign him from Chelsea. A couple of people that I knew. Most of us would not have gone near him with a barge pole because we'd seen him play football, basically. But all of the ones who wanted him to play for Liverpool were English and had some kind of English bias. There's some English bias that goes on with England fans. Sure. Excuse me. Like there is for everybody. No doubt. Everybody has this, right? But look at this for a list, okay? Well, I'll just read it out so it's the same for you as the audio listeners. Anthony, right? £85.4 million. Rasmus Højlund, £72 million. Casemiro, £70 million. Mason Mount, £60 million. Okay, that's his top 4 signings. That is quick mental calculation. That's 130. That's 280 million on Anthony, Højlund, Casemiro, and Mount. This is what they can't do anymore, Nigel. They can't afford to make those mistakes anymore. And I think Amorim has got a good system. I really do. But the players he had to work with are absolutely garbage, and that's where the buck should stop, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
like Onana, he signed Onana as well.
Yes, he did. Yeah, for £47.2 million, like 55 million euros. Exactly. Yeah, Delict for 50 million euros. Ugarte, who's rubbish, and we said at the time
hasn't been that bad. Ugarte's not worth it. Delict hasn't been too bad.
No, he has. He's been very.
Has he really? I haven't seen that much of them. Well, yeah, but I'm just going to put it like this. What I was going to say before was that when the lowest we've ever finished since 1961, when we got promoted back to the Premier League or the First Division, is 8th.
Wow,
that's the lowest we finished. And they used to be getting all those about Liverpool falling apart, and Ryan Giggs, we'd never collapse like Liverpool. They were 17th at one stage a few weeks ago, and I think they might have finished. I'm not sure where they finished. I don't really care where they finished.
16th, I think. No, 15th.
Did they really?
15th.
15th.
Yeah, 15th.
I mean, that's dreadful. It's so bad. They're just absolutely useless. And long may it continue and all that, but I mean, it's not good enough. Like I said, Ferguson dropped them in it. Moyes was out of his depth. Mourinho only worried about himself.
He spent stupid. He bought Pogba for 100 million and Lukaku for 90 million.
Yeah, but he was trying to say, look at me, I'm great, like he did at Chelsea, because it's all about him. Then they had Van Gaal, who he couldn't dig that out. I mean, Van Gaal was a great manager over the years, but he just gone a bit too old maybe. And then they brought in Ralph Rangnick and made him a caretaker. What the hell was that? Like, and had to deal with that rubbish. Now, he might have been able to do something if they had given him a bit of time. But and then to cap it all, Ten Hag.
Well, I mean, Ole, don't forget Ole.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, he was just, oh my good God. His head was so far up his own ass. Like, I mean, it just, oh my God, he was shocking. And
he got
like,
into second,
Yeah,
they finished second, but they were incredibly lucky, and it was second on 7.
But we made the Champions League that year, and we were terrible.
Exactly.
We lost 16 or 17 or 18 injuries. Arteta are making a career out of that, blaming injuries. We had more injuries than he had in about the last 5 seasons that season. But and then like Ten Hag was an absolute disgrace, and he's gone to Leverkusen now.
I can't believe they've given him a job. I mean, presumably you could give him a job, but you just take him out of signings, whatever, because he's obviously
give him a sweep and brush and a dustpan. Like, I mean,
sorry,
wouldn't be giving him give him a sweep and brush and a dustpan or something, but don't give him the manager's job. Oh my God! Yeah. And then this guy is after been doing a drop in it, and these guys just don't suit his system.
Yeah,
he's after telling Highland he can leave. This is supposed to be the best young centre forward in Europe, 72 million or whatever he was, and he's just not good enough. Go off to Italy and he'll score a bag of goals or something.
80 million euros. No, I mean he won't score. But I don't know. I think he's useless. But yeah, I don't know, because thing is, Amorim now, after losing this final, from the outside, I think he's a canny manager. I think he's a good manager. I think his style of play is boring but effective, and I think that there is something in it. But he's not going to have time now because the pressure's up. No. I mean, and on him, and the United fan base have got losing. They've completely lost their shit. They've lost their minds, and. A few bad results at the beginning of next season, and Amorim's going to be gone, and they're going to do something.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Get Gareth Southgate or something ridiculous like that. I mean, I hope it happens. But,
God, yes. I'd love that. That's the way they're gone. I think they don't have a choice. If they persevere with Onana in goal, they're going absolutely nowhere but down. Like,
no, they weren't.
They were so lucky they were so lucky that had Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton in the league this season, or they would have been gone.
Well, yeah, it's an entire possibility, but yeah. Well, we'll see. But I mean, but I don't know. There's a big part of me that likes to revel in Manchester United's demise, but I do feel sorry. I do feel sorry for my friends who support Manchester United. And but of course, I don't. I just don't want them. I don't want them.
They would have been putting the boot in on us, and they did. I remember it only too well. They were putting the boot in on us.
I don't.
So we don't have to put.
But a lot of fans were, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sad for the Gary Nevilles of the world. Not at all.
No, Ryan Giggs.
No, exactly. Or that buffoon who had a famous debate with Chris Pajak from Red Men TV.
Howsome, an idiot.
Just a fool, a fool. Long may that continue then. Go back to Liverpool. I mean, we're champions. We do have to end this episode. It's almost 2 hours long. Thank you so much, Nigel. I'm going to sleep really well. you know,
Yeah,
the
definitely.
images
I'm
of
going to
Virgil.
watch a few videos, a few highlights.
Exactly, yeah. Watch some interviews, see the boys. There's a great interview with Curtis Jones and his little girl who's trying to like take the microphone. She thinks it's some kind of, I don't know, ice cream or something. I don't know, but it's it's a really really nice one. And yeah, I'm gonna yeah, exactly, ingest
Revel.
content. Revel, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Nigel. I hope to speak with you soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Give,
Do a few more
give Nigel a follow
pods
on.
during pre-season, maybe.
Exactly, yeah. And we'll see. We'll see. We've got lots to talk about, including Verts. If he does sign, we're definitely going to do an episode on him because that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you to the listener, all the listeners. I don't know who you are, where you are. Let me know. koponpodcast@gmail.com, where you're listening to this, and pass the podcast on, because this is one thing I haven't been doing very well is promoting it. So if you do know about Kop On and you do want to pass it on to someone who might like it, then please do. But whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a champion time, and we'll see you soon. You will never walk alone 20 times.